Hello, everyone. So, just want to talk about this. We're going to just have a ramble, I suppose. That's the way to phrase this. But there is no middle nowadays in politics. We often hear, I'm in the middle and stuff, and people used to say that. I myself used to say that maybe about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe. I'm in the middle. I'm not right or I'm not left. But obviously, of course, everybody would call you conservative, particularly me, or far right extremist. It's the usual thing. But usually I often say, and you hear me all the time, I don't like labeling people far left or far right. I don't like doing that. It just causes division. It causes just you're this side and I'm the other side. It doesn't help people. Of course, people have different views. Of course, that's fine. That's society. Everybody has different views and anything. But I do think the middle is gone nowadays. What I mean by the middle, the people who are usually were in the middle, take what's up. I think that's gone nowadays, because things have just got so polarized in society, across society, just even politics and other stuff, that nobody can agree on anything anymore. And that's the simple thing. Years ago, you had these a few people, say for example, in the middle that would agree with a lot of stuff on the right, but would agree with a lot of stuff on the left. We're kind of in between. You're stuck in between. But nowadays, that's all gone. Particularly when we look at issues like sex education in school and stuff like that, and of course different things in the world, for example, different countries, etc. Should maybe sanction, should this, should we support this country, should we do this, and particularly the war with Israel, take what's happening in Ukraine, other stuff. It's pushed the middle out, basically. What I'm trying to say, there's no middle nowadays. It's either you're left or you're right, pretty much. That's, in my view, that's pretty much what it's come down to. That nobody is neutral nowadays in terms of the view. That it's either left or it's right, because that's the society we live in. Because so much things have happened, particularly in the last few years, that basically got rid of the middle section. What I mean by the middle section, the people that had between views, let's put that way. That's a nice way of putting it. But as I say, with this ideology, I suppose, in school, particularly on young children, a lot of people have gone very against that, etc. In society and the right, etc. And there's put more people to the right, etc. that would have been maybe in the middle, and other stuff too. That's just even just an example off the top of my head. But the sad thing, and I was just briefly touched on it there a few minutes ago, that nobody can really agree on anything nowadays, and that's the sad fact of it, that nobody really can. We can't find compromises anymore. It's all division. It's all just total anarchy in a way. But I think it's a system of the system itself. What I mean by that, the system has not reformed. The system is just stuck to its basic the status quo, we would say. And it hasn't reformed, and hasn't kind of developed, and long and behold, we're still here, basically, because the system is just under pressure, so much pressure. And all these issues that maybe didn't exist even 50 years ago are suddenly here now, and the system can't cope with the sheer, just the sheer despair of a lot of people, first of all, the sheer just chaos of the world, because the world is such a volatile place at the moment, with wars, with other stuff going on. And compared to years ago, take for example, with 24/7 social media and the media, etc., that doesn't help anybody, basically. That doesn't really help anybody at all. But it is worrying in the fact, because years ago, you would find compromises to solutions. There was problems in society, etc. You would find solutions by working with each other to find common ground. And usually would go to the person in the middle, basically, what I'm trying to say, to find compromises, to work between the groups. And that's what we're saying about the middleman and the person in the middle that wasn't left or wasn't right. Because they would be able to say, look, I'm not a part of any the left or the right, but I want to try and find a compromise. But unfortunately, that day's gone. There's no middleman nowadays. It's just either left and right. But it is worrying. It is really worrying to see, because people should work together as much as humanly possible. Because we've seen it even in our own history, to take what's happened in Ireland during the War of Independence in the 1916 Rising would be another perfect example, where people with the Irish nationalists, people like James Connolly, for example, too, who was a socialist and stuff, that believed in that kind of policy. Modern day Labour Party, I suppose you would call it here. But it was such a Labour Party nowadays, just to say, I don't know what James Connolly would think of the Labour Party here now at the moment. But you get what I'm saying, they were all able to work together for a common cause, for the state to free the Irish Republic. Same during the War of Independence, was people that had different views on different things, but they had one common goal. And unfortunately, of course, the Civil War happened. It split a lot of people too. But we can find, if we work together, particularly as Irish people, if we work together, we can achieve anything, and that's just the simple thing. But of course, a lot of the people that are in the Dáil, in the Shannon, etc. Don't care to work for the Irish people. Let's put it that way. They don't care. They couldn't give a damn about working for the Irish people. They work for other people that they get paid for handsomely. So they just couldn't give a damn. But I do think it's worrying that we can't find common ground anymore, and I do think it's worrying that the middleman is gone. I would call it too. But even on issues, even just basic issues, it was good to have somebody that was in the middle, that was kind of neutral. You had views maybe in the left and right, but nowadays that's gone because it's just and I suppose society as a whole too. We hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. If you're part of the left or you're a left wing extremist and all that, yada 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 yada, and if you're on the right, you're far right extremist, yada 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 yada. You get what I'm saying? And it's just not. It's not productive really, because it's just basically holding insults at each other. Like even just take for example, somebody on the left would be like, "Oh, you're racist, you're this, you're that, and you're the other." But they would never say, maybe you have a point about immigration and stuff, people coming in without IDs and stuff. Let's say for example, that would be the perfect argument. And years ago, that would have been the argument. Oh, there's people coming in and stuff. So, and they're not coming in with IDs, and they're coming in with criminal records and stuff. And years ago, at least people would have been, yeah, we get where you're coming from. Nowadays, it's just shout at each other, and basically nothing gets done because people just haul insults at each other, and it just turns into an almighty cockwallop for me if I use that language. But yeah, it's so divisive world, and it's sad to see that, as I say, that it is just left and right nowadays. There's no in the middle, and as I said, even 10 years ago, I would have considered myself in the middle. But of course, with all the world events, of course, I've gone to the right. Well, technically, I was always really, a conservative white person. I do have some probably left wing views. There's no doubt about it. Maybe that's debatable. But I wouldn't say that I'm the most evil person ever. But some people would call you that. But I do. But at the top of this, and again, this is kind of ramble, just giving my thoughts. But do let me know what you think, because I do think it's worrying, and it's worrying for society, because you need the middleman too, really, in a way, particularly in politics and stuff, to keep everyone killing each other basically. But anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe for more, and bye.